brand new administrative building for the Pesticides and Toxic Chemicals Control Board was commissioned this past week by Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa in the compound of the National Agricultural Research and Extension Institute, NARI, at Monrepo. The building was constructed and furnished at a cost of $115 million and forms part of the government's plans to deliver sound pesticides and toxic chemicals management services to its stakeholders. In delivering the feature address at the commissioning exercise, Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa said that with the rapid growth and expansion of Guyana's economy, there has grown an urgent need to better manage the use of pesticides as is applied in the agriculture sector and domestically in households, and more so the toxic chemicals now in use in various sectors such as mining, power generation, and in the oil and gas sector. Minister Mustafa said that the commissioning of the new admin building demonstrates government's commitment to this important area of sound management.
So today, as we are commissioning this building here, as I said, this is not only a building for the Pesticide and Toxic Chemical Control Board and their staff to be comfortable, but we are commissioning this building against the backdrop with in mind that we are now modernizing this system, modernizing this sector that we are talking about. So from 2021 to now presently, what we have saw taking place around the Caribbean, how agriculture has transformed around the Caribbean. We have seen places like Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago, the Eastern Caribbean countries, and as I said, the strategy that was developed by former president. We didn't see the political will at that time, but today we are seeing that political will. We are seeing that renewed interest in the agriculture sector. So countries whose economy were built on tourism, oil and gas, and other economic activities, they are today embracing agriculture.
It is against this background that the role of the Pesticide Board takes on even more importance.
This activity is very important because you heard from the registrar just now. The role of the board is to ensure proper management of pesticides and other chemicals. But as a government also, we are encouraging our farmers and stakeholders that we should use less chemical in the system. If we go into Europe, if we go into certain part of Europe, you'll see two types of coconut waters. One organic coconut water, one non-organic. And you will see which one will sell out faster and which one will cost more. So we are working very closely. I've asked the registrar to work with the various arms of the Ministry of Agriculture, the NARI, GRDB, and other area Gaisuko, so that we can educate the populace about chemical, safe use of chemical.
The minister noted that the Pesticide Board had an inconspicuous beginning with a relatively simple mandate. Since then, that mandate has been expanded significantly, with the entity now recognized as one of the most important agencies of the Ministry of Agriculture.
But today, the Pesticide and Toxic Chemical Control Board, as the registrar mentioned, is not only managing chemical in the agriculture sector, but we have increased our responsibilities. We are now managing and regulating chemicals in the mining sector, the manufacturing sector, the industrial sector, and the oil and gas sector. That's very important because today you have all this controversy going around, people talking all kind of things, and here the board, their job is the most important job to allay the fears that some people are instilling in the population of our country. And they are very important. So we are doing it in the mining sector, the manufacturing sector, the industrial sector, oil and gas, the housing sector, the commercial sector, and many more other sectors, you name it. Because this board now has transformed. It has transformed from a small unit that used to manage our agriculture sector to the unit today that we have close to about how many staff? 50 staff members. And they are now concentrating their works to ensure that the transformation taking place in our country, and you heard the sector I mentioned, the transformation taking place in the mining sector, the transformation taking place in the manufacturing sector. And when you look at the half-year's budget report, half-year report from the Ministry of Finance, the Minister of Finance, all these sectors, every one of these sectors has recorded tremendous growth. And that growth is not because we have growth because we want to have growth. That is because of the work we are putting into the sector.
The Agriculture Minister stressed that with growth such as is taking place in Guyana, there is even more need to ensure safety, to ensure structure and conformity to policy in all of these sectors.
We are doing this because as a government, we have a vision to safeguard the populace. We have a vision to ensure our people or the chemical have negative or minimal negative impact to human health and the ecosystem that I spoke about, despite the use of pesticides and toxic chemicals. Only 2 days ago I called the registrar. The president instructed that we have to run a campaign to ensure that we have all these final resting places, the cemeteries. We clear of bush, and when you're going through these cemeteries, you got a lot of weed and bushes and so. I was asking the registrar that we need an environmentally friendly chemical that we can use here. And why we are using chemical in the agriculture sector? I said it. Pests are one of the main challenges affecting our farmers. Hence, the use of pesticides, whether from the synthetic or natural sources. As such, some chemical management remains of an utmost importance. So, we are now, as I said, transforming this important sector. Never in the history, growing up as a youngster, I never see this passion being exhibited in the agriculture sector, especially from our head of state.
Minister Mustafa said government, through the Pesticide Board, is working hard to ensure that only the safest chemicals are used in crops within the agriculture sector, a program that has been bearing fruit.
He has been going around across the country. I have been here at numerous events. And some of the officers who are here will tell you, we leave our home sometimes 4 o'clock in the morning to reach at a location at 5 to speak to the farmers. Because they say the farmers are the first person to get out of bed. And by 7 o'clock we finish that program and we get back to the office to do our daily routine work. So, pests, as I said, and all these diseases that we have encountered, many times farmers embark on various crops, and before they could harvest the fruits of their labor, either have pests destroy the crop or diseases. So we have the Pesticide and Toxic Chemical Control Board, where they are looking on a regular basis. This is not a one-off thing, that this year we look at something and we ban the pronto and we bring in something else, and that we use for the rest of the year. I've asked, and she can testify, the registrar, that we keep this going all the time. We keep exploring new grounds. We keep doing research all the time to see as much as possible how we can reduce chemical on crops. We are seeing so many diseases and sickness in the world today, and sometimes people are alluding that to issues in the agriculture sector with the food being sprayed with chemical and dangerous chemical. So they have been working on all the dangerous chemicals, all the harmful chemicals that we had in the system. They are being eradicated one by one, coming off the dangerous list, taking out them from that list, and we are having chemicals that are more environmentally friendly. But that is not the case alone, because we don't want to continue to use chemical to get rid of pests and diseases. The Pesticide and Toxic Chemical Control Board, they are working to ensure, as I said, environmentally friendly chemicals. But at the same time, we are working with the other sister agencies to see how we can get things better. And as I'm speaking now, right here in this compound, the Nari compound, we are building a tissue culture lab. A tissue culture lab where we'll have planting materials, plantlets. This is, when we produce these plantlets, it will be disease resistance and pest resistance.
Earlier in the proceedings, Registrar of the Pesticide Board, Ms. Tricia David Garner, had given an overview of the board and the advent of the new facility. She lauded the support of Minister Mustafa in the work of the board in chemicals management over the last 4 years.
Chemicals play an important role in everyday life of all of us. The global production, trade, and use of chemicals are increasing, placing an increasing burden for chemicals management on regulators and governments globally. These chemicals must be soundly regulated so as to protect human health and the environment. Why? Chemicals use and exposure today is a major contributor to the health crisis facing many workers and chemical users in developing countries and countries with economies in transition. Exposure to chemicals today, more than ever, is linked to a wide range of health issues which are serious and irreversible. Certain chemicals have been proven to cause chronic diseases. And may I say to you right now, that when we talk about chemicals, a lot of times what persons like to think of, we're only talking about the farmers who are using pesticides in the agri sector. Can I tell you today, all of us are exposed to chemicals. Consumers and non-chemical users are equally as exposed to chemicals through consumer products, through air pollution, and more. If you were to ever ask us here at the board, me or any of the staff, why we do what we do, and we'd like to send this message very strongly, we will tell you it is to protect human health, especially those that are at risk, and the environment. That is our greatest passion. We are thankful for the legislation, which we believe is one of the most important pieces of legislation that was developed by government, that created a board and allowed for the management of these chemical substances. If you are to check in developing countries where chemicals management has been achieved soundly, you would find one of the most important facets is political will. And here in Guyana, we have been thankful What you see before you today as the Pesticides Board, when it first began, was 5% of what you now see. It has definitely been political will, strong political will, that has given much support to what chemicals management has become. The implementation of the legislation ensures the protection of all those that are at risk to the dangers these substances pose at all stages in the life cycle. At the board, we are concerned with the management of chemicals, not only in the agri-sector, for those of you who do not know, but I'll tell you today, we are also managing chemicals in the manufacturing, mining, industrial, oil and gas, and commercial sector as well. And I'm grateful today that we have a wide range of our stakeholders here joining us for this ceremony. So one can only imagine the magnitude of stakeholders that the board addresses. The sound management of chemicals is also a key component of the Sustainable Development Goals. If you do not know, it's referred to in 5 of the 12 Sustainable Development Goals, specifically speaks to chemicals and waste management. And therefore, chemicals management is a key enabler for any country desirous of achieving sustainable development.
Later on, it was announced by Minister Mustafa that Guyana, through the PESTICIDE, will from next year begin testing for lead in paint after an investment of $43 million in the equipment necessary for this to happen. He also disclosed that new laws are being drafted to cover the transportation of chemicals on Guyana's roadways. Implementation of these new and updated laws will be applied in 2025.